We got our first taste of joint practice for your Carolina Panthers today as they matched up with the Jacksonville Jaguars ahead of their preseason Week 2 matchup. You're watching Panthers Today by Chat Sports, presented by Prize Picks. Use code HMA when you sign up. If you win your first $5 lineup, you're getting $150 in bonus lineups instantly. We're going to break down this Panthers joint practice today, but before we do, first, let's get rid of the injury news beforehand, because a couple of guys did not participate in the action with Jacksonville earlier today, so I want to get through that and kind of tell you where everybody stands as of right now. Joe Person did tweet this out from Dave Canales saying that Cam Jackson is in concussion protocol, and that's unfortunate because it's the guy who we expect to play a pretty sizable role on the interior of that defensive line with a couple more injuries stacking up in that unit. Xavier Legette got rolled up on and was held out of the end of today's practice, but he seems to be fine. He's kind of been dealing with a couple different bang-ups during training camp so far. Remember that stinger when he fell down on the back of his head. And then Jalen Phillips had a wrist/elbow issue today that sounds minor. That he did have a couple nice plays, a nice tackle for loss combined with Derek Brown. So he was making some splashes, but he got a little bit banged up as well. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel here, though, because we're going to be live for Panthers versus Jaguars on Friday. Go down below, hit that subscribe button, and join us Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll be live a half hour before kickoff. I want to see all the Panthers fans rocking and rolling with us for that game. Turn your notifications on as well so you know exactly when we go live on the channel. So it was evident that T-Mac and J.C. Horn had two big days. They stole the show during Carolina Panthers joint practice with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We'll tell you more about that in a second. We got to tell you about our other sponsor on today's show over at SeatGeek, the best place to go out there and get your tickets. Guys, I've been looking for tickets all summer long for Panthers games this fall, and SeatGeek is the best place to get them because how easy the app works and because they give the best deals. Use code CHAT10 to get 10% off your next set of tickets. And with SeatGeek being Major League Baseball's official ticket marketplace, your tickets are fully guaranteed and instantly fulfilled in your account after purchasing tickets to America's pastime. But whether it's a baseball game the rest of the summer, or a Panthers game this fall, or an Ella Langley concert, SeatGeek has your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale from 1 through 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look out for the green dots because green means good and red means bad. Of course, like I said, I got that code for you guys as well. You can use code CHAT10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with the promo code CHAT10. Make sure you click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring today's show. So, Mia O'Brien tweeting this one out saying, I have a joint practices coming, but in a few words, Jacksonville dominated the opening team periods. Things got a lot better for Carolina as the day went on, but offense and defense, in her opinion, felt like they lost steam as practice wore on. This is from the Jaguars' perspective, by the way. Simultaneously, Tetairoa, McMillan, and J.C. Horn took off. So I'm loving to hear that. I mean, it's the Panthers' maybe two best players overall on either side of the ball. I'd say T-Mac is probably your most coveted offensive asset. And then J.C. Horn is one, if not number two, to Derek Brown on the defensive side of the football here. So good to know that the stars are showing out in these joint practice efforts. Tetairoa McMillan, for instance, he had a big red zone touchdown as the practice kind of wore on, and the connection between him and Bryce Young just continues to get better. Everybody says it all summer long that T-Mac's looking like a player who's just not going to have a similar type of season that he had last year, but build off of the season that he had last year. And I'm even seeing some guys saying that we're going to be talking about Tetairoa McMillan and Drake London in the same breath, talking about like the same skill level at the end of 2026. So to know that he was going out there and making plays against a pretty decent Jaguar secondary, really, really cool stuff to see there. T-Mac did say this about moving around on offense, playing a couple different spots inside and out. Yeah, opportunities. Obviously, I'm moving around. The coaches are doing a good job as far as just moving me around, getting me different matchups, and just making the game easier for everybody. As a matter of fact, T-Mac actually was in the slot on 5 out of 7 different snaps where he was on the field in 3 wide receiver sets. So even when the Panthers are going to run things like 11 personnel, which they did a couple times, had T-Mac in the slot there, but even in these 3 wide receiver sets, they're actually putting him on the inside and letting him operate in the middle of the football field, which I think is great. He's awesome with the ball in his hands. He's great at finding soft spots in the zone, and he's a big target. Like the big slot is something that's really becoming evident and utilized across the entire National Football League here. So the Panthers can't get lost behind, and they're putting T-Mac all over the football field, all over the formations on offense. That's just going to make his game that much more difficult to guard for opposing defenses. J.C. Horn, he had a huge PBU on Brian Thomas Jr. Like it was a straight collision and it broke the ball up. Great timing and effort by him on that one. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say we're looking for J.C. Horn to show us something during these, team practices and these in inter-squad scrimmages because we know what he is at this point. He's a $100 million cornerback. He's one of the top 5 guys in this league at his position. So, he had a great season last year, too. Like, we know how good J.C. Horn is. As a matter of fact, this past preseason game in week 1, where the Panthers defense was really just getting torched up and down the football field by the Bills starters, by the Bills 2s, by the Bills 3s, it really didn't even matter for the most part. But in the 7 routes that J.C. Horn was on the field for, there was 0 targets against him. Everybody else was kind of getting peppered except for number 8. So really good stuff here as he continues to build upon the Pro Bowl and All-Pro career that he's formulating here. The first defensive series, though, it did force a 3-and-out. Shout out to the defense for getting things going there. That was really the only highlight in the early portion of camp. If you wanted to kind of take a deeper look at what happened on that first defensive series against the Jaguars, Mike Jackson had a nice PBU. Trevor Lawrence had an overthrow. And then we saw some pretty tight coverage from safety Lathan Ransom and enforced an incompletion. So I'm actually very excited to see more from Lathan Ransom as the year goes on, as we get into the regular season, because beyond a guy like Nick Scott and Trayvon Morrig, Key Wheatley, who we don't know if he's 100% ready for regular season action, big snap counts during this rookie year. Like, Lathan Ransom needs to be a guy we can look to as far as being a depth safety on this team. He's made plays throughout camp, and now he's making plays in joint practice as well. The Panthers' offense, though, is really what got off to a slow start. And, that's pretty commonplace for this organization, especially Bryce Young in the beginning of seasons over his career so far. Like, it always starts out so slow. Next thing you know, it slowly ramps up, and he looks like a much different quarterback by the end of the year than he did in the first 4 weeks or so. Same thing happened against Jacksonville here. The first offensive series, short rush by Jonathon Brooks. Bryce Young then got sacked. The offensive line is not holding up as well as I thought it could, but at the same time, Taylor Moton's not out there on the football field. You got a rookie in Monroe Freeling who I think held up decently well throughout this action, but you got Rasheed Walker, new guy on the left side. He had a really nice rep against Trayvon Walker. He even tweeted out a quote tweet of the video saying, "I'm the real Walker." But the interior of the offensive line is still kind of working back after missing a couple of practices. The center position isn't as glamorous as it was last year with Sam Hecht. You got I forget. Why am I forgetting his name? Whatever it is. But Luke Fortner and Sam Hecht are just not as good as the cats they had at that spot last year. But look, the interior of the offensive line is something that we cannot afford to allow a bunch of pressure in, because for a guy like Bryce Young, who's not the biggest frame quarterback in the world, that really limits him, and that kind of breaks up the play as soon as the ball is snapped. So, look, I think that the offense, yes, it got off to a slow start, but it's certainly got a heck of a lot better. And Bryce Young is actually taking some positives from this slow start, saying this: I think that's for sure one of the benefits of these practices. You kind of get in that rhythm. You're practicing at the same time, same place, same people. You kind of know when to ramp it up, when not to. Something like this, when you're in a new environment, our schedule's a little different. We're on their schedule. So I think that's great for us. We're going to play at different times. We're going to play at different venues, different looks, and we're going to be able to go whenever it's time to go. And that's something that I think is a great opportunity for us to grow from today. And T-Mac got a little bit more specific in what the ins and outs were with what was going on. He said, we got to stop being cute. Like, we got to stop trying to be cute. I don't really know what was going on out there, but once we kind of got settled in, things looked a heck of a lot better. So I'm not too upset at what went down in the early portion, just because of how better things got as practice went on. I got to ask you guys a question here. Which side of the football are you more confident in for your Carolina Panthers? I think it's like relatively close between these two units. O for offense, D for defense. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. Which unit you guys have more confidence in heading into the regular season? Now, coming up next, we got more highlights from joint practice here. Panthers, Jaguars, a bunch more names to talk about. But before we do, got to tell you about our friends over at Prize Picks, America's #1 app for sports picks. You just pick more or less on a few player stats, lock in a lineup, and you can win real money while watching your favorite sports. Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, MMA, golf, you can mix and match all these different sports and stat types in the same lineup. I love Prize Picks because of all the features that they offer, all the discounts that they offer as well, like Taco Tuesday, that was yesterday, where they discount stat projections every week. Flex Friday, where if you lose your lineup, they give it back to you in promo funds. And they're just always making it easier for you guys to win real money in real time. Look at their new Team Picks feature, where you can pick game winners, spreads, and totals on Prize Picks. You can even put those picks into your player pick lineups. And their new social feeds tab, you can see other players' picks. You can share your lineups with your friends. You can copy their lineups into your own with a single click. You can even follow me on the app at Tyler J. Smith to see more of my lineups, including this one for the baseball action we got going on today. We got Paul Skeens, more than 3.5 Ks. Two of these picks are goblin picks, which decrease the payout, but they're easier to hit. Pete Crow Armstrong, more than 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. And then we're going Pete Crow Armstrong, a demon pick, to have more than half a home run. You can take my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use that code HMA, and if you win your first $5 lineup, you're getting $150 in bonus lineups instantly. That's code HMA. You play your first $5 lineup, and if it wins, you get $150 in bonus lineups instantly with Prize Picks. The link to download the app is clickable in the comment section and description of today's video. After that first series for Carolina, things got a little bit better here. On the second 11-on-11 series for the offense, play action play, great pocket, finds Tetairoa McMillan, 15 yards there. Jonathon Brooks had a little run to the left, and then incomplete to Xavier Legette and Eric Murray of the Jaguars with the PBU. But then on third down, Tommy Tremble, crossing route, and it caught and lit up by Travis Hunter. But Tommy Tremble popped up and gave it a little first down pose for the Panthers there. So really, really good stuff to see on the second drive for the offense there. And actually, I believe it resulted in that Tetairoa McMillan touchdown. You know who else had a pretty good day? I hate to say it. I should say I love to say it because, it's anytime Nick Scott's playing well, it's a good thing for Carolina. I just didn't expect him to go out there and have a big pick six against Trevor Lawrence here. So good stuff on his end. We saw another safety go out there and make a couple plays, Trayvon Moehrig. Obviously, we know the physicality that he brings to the game. He laid down a couple of big-time hits, and that had tempers flaring a little bit throughout the day. Speaking of tempers flaring, Felipe Franks was he got into sort of a scuffle, but he quickly backed off of the situation, and that actually impressed Dave Canales, considering Franks has gotten in a couple of different fights this offseason already. We have Devin Lloyd had a nice PBU over the middle of the field. That actually included one of those Trayvon Moehrig big hit sticks over the middle. So good stuff there. I love the fact that these guys are flying around the football field. A lot of athleticism at the second and third levels of this defense. A.J. Dillon and John Mechie, I thought, had a few splashes throughout this day. A.J. Dillon with a nice grab and and two nice runs. John Mechie with a couple of good catches as well. So good to see the guys that are not only fighting for spots on this roster, but guys who you may depend upon for depth pieces throughout the season are making big time plays. Canales had this assessment of the joint practice, saying it's great confidence for the group in terms of our level of readiness and to play games. I know we've been playing preseason games, but to really start to accumulate for the loads required to play a regular season game, that's what it feels like down here at the end of that practice. That's what the games are going to feel like. And I saw our guys maintain that fitness level. Absolutely. I mean, when you're playing these preseason games, yes, sometimes you're playing starters, but even then, guys are kind of sort of going through the motions. These joint practices get absolutely physical. Jags beat reporters were out there noting the physicality of the day. I think they said it was the most physical Jags practice they saw all offseason. So I have to admit that that's probably a little bit of credit to Carolina and what they had going on here. But great practice overall. I thought they finished super strong. And Tetairoa McMillan and J.C. Horn continue to be the stars that this Carolina Panthers team needs. That'll do it for today's show, though. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/Panthers Today, for the latest and greatest from the Carolina Panthers all preseason long. We'll see you guys next time. And as always, keep pounding.